what would an Iranian retaliation day after day look like, and how worried would the U.S. be in terms of risks to its military assets and personnel in places like Iraq?
Well, the Iranians didn't have a lot of any good options in front of them. If they didn't retaliate, they would get hit harder. This was the calculation in Tehran, and I see that. They also didn't want to get directly involved with the U.S., even though in rhetoric they're saying that they see the U.S. also responsible, because they don't want to be the starter of that war, open war with the U.S. So the only option was to retaliate against the Israelis, which they started immediately with drones and now with missiles. But they can't match the Israelis from a military capability. As I said, Israel has military superiority. They have the fighter jets and sort of the modern weaponry and technology that they get from the United States. And then on top of that, they're the only nuclear weapons power in the Middle East with many nuclear warheads that no one else does. So that's another worry by mainly nuclear experts also, that at the end of the road, this can potentially lead to something even more devastating. And then on the Iranian side also, this could change the calculation, because Iran's policy has been to keep its nuclear program a civilian program for peaceful purposes, but the attack on its nuclear sites could be a game changer for them in the short or long term to change that policy. And then that can bring both sides in an escalation to a whole other level. That will be very dangerous, and civilians across the region will pay the price for it.
And Negar, these strikes on nuclear facilities also killing Israeli politicians, Israeli scientists. Talk to me about the real impact, or I should say the immediate impact that would have on Israel's nuclear program. I mean, Donald Trump says it's unclear if Iran even still has a nuclear program.
Well, nuclear experts have time and again said there is no destroying of Iran's nuclear program through bombing. And that's why diplomacy has always been seen as the most viable option to ensure that the program remains peaceful, civilian, doesn't turn into a weapons program, is under international monitoring and safeguards. Because bombing could set it back by a matter of weeks or months, as experts have been saying, but it can't destroy it. You certainly can't bomb knowledge. And then if Iranians decide to go further underground or conduct this in secret locations, they have a lot of options to continue this nuclear program, and then also make a political decision to escalate and potentially break from the civilian program and change the nature of that. So yes, they will be dealing with setbacks both in the military sense, political, and also their nuclear. But as experts say, I don't see this really ending the nuclear program or destroying it completely.
So where is the off-ramp here?
Well, the off-ramp, I think the U.S. can be the bigger party here, essentially, and they have all the influence over Israel, which seems like they haven't used. So in essence, they either didn't stop Netanyahu, or worse, they green-lighted him for an attack on Iran. The U.S. can stop Israel at any point. Without their support, the Israelis won't be able to engage in open war with Iran, at least in a sustained, long-term sense. They would need U.S. Military support to continue something like that. And again, as the U.S. public opinion doesn't support a U.S. involvement in a big Middle East war, I think that is essentially the main factor here for the administration to call for a de-escalation and return back to the negotiating table. I feel like right now, the understanding, sounds like by the president and administration, is that this military pressure is going to strengthen their hand at the negotiating table and push Iranians to capitulate. And we've seen by President time and again that it's actually going to be the opposite. This will backfire, and Iranians will come back to the negotiating table, if at all, with a more stronger demand and not less. So I think as long as that's understood, the path to diplomacy is the most viable path, and immediate de-escalation, and also some concern for the civilian life in both countries and potentially beyond their borders.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Negar Mortazavi, thank you very much.